Hi, hello humans. I want to thank the sponsors and the Academy and my family and everybody else. And let's go into this. I'm trying to, I always have extra slides and stuff, and then I start speaking quickly, and so you're going to have to follow somehow. I hope we will all survive. I've been active in this field of new media, or new media art rather, for quite some time now, and I believe that this sentence, that is not historically originally mine, but is still the most distilled version of my, let's say, experience of working in that field. The reasons to say such a thing are twofold. One is that, yes, technology reflects the social relations because we get to use it and it then works as an amplifier. But also it is being created in this setup of, let's call it, too late capitalism or something like that. And everything I have to deliver tonight is somehow tangential and belongs to this vast umbrella of my life experience. This is a table of contents, something about what artists do, something about who's the enemy, and then finally the project itself that is supposed to be a contribution to the dilemma, not just some whining, there's more. So, I'm an archaeologist by profession, and I'm now in Cyprus. So there's two reasons for me to show I can actually find some old photos. I wanted first, I was like super happy to actually use Greek letters. But I chose this particular version of Homer because it also has a stamp of British Museum. I find that to be very connected. But the real thing here is that this is on the crater, on the vase, on the right-hand side, is a picture that is very, very deeply connected to what we now call artificial intelligence. This is one of the first robots. This is supposed to be a robot that terrorized the island of Crete, and then the Argonauts came in and pulled a plug from his heel, it's again a heel, and in this way killed this big robot. And I wanted to illustrate with this picture and two more how humanity has a tendency since late Neolithic, since Bronze Age, to attribute suprahuman properties to non-living things. You might also recall the concept of a burning bush talking to us. It is the same concept. Also, you can see here I'm a completely unstoppable fanatic for first editions and high-res scans of books. I like to recall all of us that are living in a more contemporary time that it has been 200 years since Frankenstein, which is also an AI skeptic kind of, even louder. I can do loud. So it's been 200 years that this young girl, an 18-year-old girl, wrote this interesting text about how humans have a way to make a machine that gets to kill them back and instilled fear in every child ever born. All right, one other historic episode that I quite appreciate, where we can see how how art creativity, or the art imaginarium came about and is now completely populating our imagination, is this 100-year-old book by a Czechoslovak guy, Karl Čapek, that gave us a concept of a robot and the word robot as well. I just want to signal that most of these ideas that we now treat as new, fresh, sexy, and exciting around the rhetorics of AI have super deep history and have been around for quite a while, so don't fall for the marketing shtick. Then there is one other component. I'm sorry for the composite image. I hate slides like this and then I make them. I'm sorry. Is something that was very, very important in our early days of net art in the early and mid-90s, which is a concept of media specificity. And it was quite an ideological holy grail. if this is not too much of a mouthful. And what I have put here are three examples. You might remember when this German guy invented the printing press, and then it took 150 years for that other Spanish guy to actually come up with a new art form that is specific to that medium, which is a novel. This is the first edition of Don Quixote, you know, that nice guy. The big black and white photo in the background is the first ever exhibition of artistic photography in 1910, which is 80 years after the birth of photography. So it took half a period when you compare it to the concept of a novel that was impossible without a printing press. And here on the right, you have this film by Griffith, this Intolerance from 1916. And so, okay, this is not ideally the half period, but still it is important for us when we think about arts and technology, arts and media technology, to consider this intriguing period between the moment when a technology comes to us, civilians, and the birth, if you will, of a medium-specific art form. And for us, internet people, internet kids that were incidentally born at that moment, this was the ambition. How to, not just how to put scans of watercolor paintings, you know, online, but how to come up with a new way of working, collaborating, approaching victims, viewers, and so on. And this is how it actually looked in the 90s, and I had this slide ready before, so I just put it here as an illustration. But this is not a talk about net art. This is how it looked in the mid-90s. It's fucking amazing because you have old browsers. All right, so now, I couldn't choose the right photo, so I have a few. And I would like to talk about a few people. You know, in the early 2000s, with the mid-2000s, with the advent of social media, everybody was so excited about and so on. But later on, we kind of realized we lost three boring medieval, even older categories: truth, trust, and democracy. And we said, oh, damn. So now we're going to live without those things. Okay, no problem. But then nowadays, we live in a time where these same guys, it's guys only, these same guys are offering to us a fascinating new super sexy technology of AI. And we are supposed to be optimistic, totally full of trust and love, that these people are going to self-regulate. And I'm sorry, I know that one of the introductory frames for this exhibition was we're not going to be talking about AI pessimism and la la la, but I'm sorry, I think... Yeah. It's like being anti-Nazi in 1933, that's how I feel. Okay. Oh, so you see, I have a few more beautiful photos I really love from this guy, and this one I think is the best. I mean, you gotta love free enterprise, and you have to trust this guy with your kid, right? Okay, so there's a few details that are of massive significance and consequence when we discuss AI, how awful it is, and we're pessimistic about it. One of them is the energy component. The other one that's really nearby is the very nature of genocide going on in the neighboring country, which is seriously and very significantly supported by AI systems. Israeli army is doing this same trick for some time now, which is called combat testing the weapons system that are then being exported, because the more people you successfully kill with your new sexy weapon, the better you are going to sell that weapon later on. So this is a purpose of the war if you want that perspective, but that's not the topic today. And these are the cliche criticisms of AI. What I would like instead to address, but also very briefly, is the, as far as we can reconstruct it, of course, the deep, sincere, intimate ideological fundamentals of the people in charge of AI. This here is just a screenshot of a cover of a website of a project of creation of networked state. Even though they say the next America, it's supposed to be global. There is a school of thought, and majority of the most important Silicon Valley protagonists are really seriously promoting this thinking of how to circumvent, how to go around the nation state and instead establish a blockchain, of course, driven and crypto enhanced, a global state composed of what used to be called company towns in the 17th and 18th century. Now, for instance, one Silicon Valley entrepreneur is developing a new city somewhere there in Silicon Valley called California Forever. This is what we call billionaire utopias. But it is interesting that these people that kept saying, oh, we're going to improve the world, we're going to make the world a better place, they're actually now, let's say, militarizing that thinking. And I think it is important to be aware of these people. And it is also precious to understand that they all read really poor, really bad science fiction. If you listen carefully to Elon Musk, for instance, okay, so he's my favorite, obviously. It's like super shallow. It's like really from the chewing gum packaging. Like this is a maximum intellectual level of explain when you ask the guy seriously to explain to you the trip to Mars, for instance. Okay, so I'm trying to rush through this, and finally we are at the project itself. So one of the important aspects of the large language models, which are an important part of the AI cosmos, if you want. Let's not go into the definition of AI, please, because it's a waste of energy. So one important aspect is that the large language models have basically consumed already the totality of human cultural output, like all written text, in shape of culture, in shape of our private conversations, in shape of our intimate files that we keep in the fucking cloud. So what to do about that? You know, how to oppose it? And being an artist and not being responsible, I decided to do something symbolic, of course, because I'm aware it's not going to be easy. And like as I wrote in my wonderfully successful short text in the little flyers you got, it is possible to say that every act of rebellion is just debugging the system. Whatever we do, it just becomes a small correction. We still have to fight, we still have to resist somehow. So this is an act of resistance against these large language models, the obfuscation, the sand in the motor of capitalism. So I'm going to start with a quote from the beginning of my favorite Australian person book, Mackenzie Work. Somebody here surely knows Mackenzie, of course, come on. A fantastic guy, a person, but still, because I didn't want to sound Marxist tonight in Cyprus, I also have another quote that helps very much, and it's in Greek, and I'm again happy to use Greek. And this is Saint John, which is not Saint Yanis, it is different, but almost Yanis. It could kind of work. So it's kind of dedicated to you, this slide. And again, for me, the biggest fun in these slides were finding the good high-res images, and like, this is so cool. Okay, and so now I'm going to be showing you, quickly 10 chosen words of a larger corpus that are meant to be unrecognizable for a large language model. And of course, using a humorous interface, we get a chance to talk about serious things. That's a trick here. I'm telling you a secret of success. And so I'm actually, this particular one I'm using already in my everyday language. I had some serious talk recently with some let's say business, and I told them, look, guys, we need a holistic approach because you know what's the opposite of holistic? As holistic, and you don't want to be assholes, and they were actually liked that. So I'm afraid this is a point where, you know, our revolution becomes only debugging. It gets appropriated inside the same sentence, inside the same breath, but still it's a lot of fun. So some are good, some are not so sexy. And here I should apologize. The names were on my first slide. I'm doing this with other people. I started on my own, then I started collaborating with an Italian new media art group called IOCOSE. We have a show now together of this stuff in Trieste, and I invited my dear old friend Vladan Joler, who also exhibited here. He's a very well-known new media guy, and he's doing all these visuals, but he's a little bit like Terry Gilliam in Monty Python. He came in to do the collages, but then he started doing the crazy sketches. So Vladan is now totally obsessed with inventing words and shit like that. For that thing, we have a word also, for this passion. It's called neologism. It's like the emotion when you invent a new word, and it's the first time ever in history that it's been uttered or used. It's obviously neologism and orgasm, all right? So this is a noun. What we like when we come up with words is you type them in any tool and it automatically gets underlined in red. And for us, that's good. Like the stupid enemy, the machine doesn't follow. So I might be on the right track. I suffer of this. I'm like in some Zoom, but I'm only looking at myself all the time, you know. Also here you can see we are very intellectual, we are very educated, we can quote good art, please. There's some more. This is a gaming reference, obviously. And a Friedrich. Yeah. So you can maybe tell that in our little group, some of us are more academic and some are less, but still, there you go. Nice. Yeah. More. This is supposed to be the most offensive one, personally, to many people. It was intended to be offensive. More. This is an old one. There's more. Oh yeah, oh. This is about new media circuit. This is a self-critique. It's a reality in our world of small non-governmental organizations that deal with new media, and you develop networks, and so you invite each other, and that's how it goes. I like this one. There you go. So we're trying to avoid used words. I like this expression, like they're second-hand words. Let's find out some new ones. Let's come up with new ones, and let's invent new worlds. By doing that, I have put my email here not just to brag I am using a computer, but also to invite you to maybe think of some words or some reaction to this. We are really now in that open stage of the project. In our work files, we have around 180 of these words. We have less than 100 illustrations. Many of the words do not have the definitions. So you know, you don't need to come up with an entire concept and wonderful articulation. Sometimes just a word play is good. Yesterday, the day before, we were sitting and having coffee in the only cafe in town, which is Angela, the Angel's place. And I saw on the table, it said you're not allowed to use a laptop. And it just struck me that this is like a laptop-less bar. Not a topless bar, but a laptop-less bar. So things just happen to you. But then I just have the word, and it's funky. I didn't yet write like a super serious sounding media criticism definition. Maybe I will. Or another word that came about when I was flying in, and that was palindrome. It is obviously palindrome and the drone, you know, the killing machine that used to be a toy. And so I have to still come up with the definition. So whatever you have to call, to send, all right? It's welcome. I will delete it anyway. Now this is the last slide. I didn't do the usual thing. I didn't put a little router with pirated books here for you to download. But these are the books I have implicitly or explicitly quoted here today. The first book is very sexy. It's a couple of years old, and it is exactly about these antiquity sources of AI-related thinking. The second one from the left is about some of these Silicon Valley boys and the capture of democracy, if you want. The one in the middle is McKinsey work. This is, if you remember, this guy Varoufakis, the Minister of Finance, he has based all of his techno-feudalism on this book. Stole half of it. Then the fourth one is very beautiful, slow motion, but the excellent history of media technology for artists especially. It's good to read. It's a bit old. I have a PDF somewhere. And the last over there is obviously about technology and society as well. It's a beautiful read. And this now concludes my presentation. I hope I stayed within the given limits of time. And I will go off stage.
Thank you.